Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello students, welcome to this session. In this class, we are going to continue understanding what do we understand by the word speed. Now, when I write this word speed or when it comes to my mind, I generally give an example which is very common to all the students that have been hearing this. That if you have ever heard that story of the turtle and the rabbit, what happens in that story? In that story, you guys know that the turtle, though very slow, wins the race, whereas the rabbit, though very fast, even loses it. Why is it so? Because he didn't do it consistently. Now, when I say out of the turtle and the rabbit, who was faster? We have no doubts that doesn't matter who wins it, the faster was the rabbit. But he was not consistent. On the other hand, the turtle, very sure we are that he was slow. Now, when I say this word fast and the slow, what does this mean? This means that I am defining the pace of motion. That means how quick or how slowly the motion is happening. So let's see. If you have heard this word speed, this is a very common word which we use in our day-to-day life. That let's say if we are driving with our father or mother, what we say? Papa, speed up. Mama, slow down. Right? So in these things, we use this word speed because speeding up or slowing down has something to do with this. Now, what is this? In the examples that we have seen above, that is the different cars are moving at different time, they are covering different distances. This indicates that they have different speed. So when we talk about speed, a higher speed seems to indicate what? That the given distance has been covered in a shorter period of time. So when I say motion, we already got to know that some distance is covered while the motion occurs. And obviously it occurs in some given time. So if my distance is covered in a given time, I am talking about the speed. Now for the speed to be greater, my distance should be higher and my time should be lesser. So what can I say? My speed is related to greater distance. If greater distance is covered, the speed will be greater or higher. But if I say my speed has to be greater, my time must be less involved in the motion. So when a larger distance is covered in a given time or a same distance is covered in a shorter time, we say that a higher speed is given. Now the most convenient way to find out which of the two objects have more or faster or let's say slower, how do we know? So in the same example of the rabbit and the turtle, I told you that the rabbit was faster as compared to the turtle who was slower. But can we also compare how fast? That is the next question to ask. So let's see. As it is written here, the most convenient way of finding out which of the two objects have more speed or moving faster is to compare the distances moved by them in a unit time, right? So if I make any one of the quantities, maybe the distance or the time, to be unitary, I can find out that whether two objects are covering greater distance in that unit time. Thus, if we know the distance covered by two buses in 1 hour, we can tell which one is faster. So, which one will be faster, students? If I have this example, let's say there is a bus A and a bus B. And I say bus A and bus B are moving in the same direction with bus A covering 10 kilometers in 1 hour, whereas bus B covers 12 kilometers in 1 hour. So if both these are taking 1 hour only, then I can definitely tell which one is faster. Bus B is faster, right? So we can tell which is faster or slower by seeing that how much distance is covered in a unit time. Now we call the distance covered by an object in a unit time to be as speed. So what is the very definition of speed here we get? We say that the distance covered by an object in a unit time is called the speed of the object. So we come to the definition of speed as the distance covered per unit time for a body or an object. So when we say a car is moving with 50 kilometers per hour. So students, when I write 50 kilometers per hour, it means what? It means the distance covered. The distance covered by the bus or the car is 50 kilometer. And how much time it is using? It is using the time of 1 hour. So in 1 hour, it is covering 50 kilometer. Hence, my speed is written as 50 kilometer per hour. Now, if this is being implied, can I have something written here? I can have the formula for speed to be given as speed is equals to nothing but my distance upon time. So we get to this formula where we see that what is speed defined as. Speed is defined as distance covered per unit of time. Now if I say a car is not moving or it seldom moves with a constant speed, we know that, right? Because if we are going in traffic, what happens? My car is not going to move with one speed. There will be traffic lights, there will be policemen, there will be someone who's crossing the road, or there will be some free road and I will be speeding up. So what is it? When we talk about in our day-to-day life, we seldom look at constant speed. So when I say 50 kilometers in 1 hour, if I'm saying this, it means I'm going with a fixed value, not changing it, not increasing it, not decreasing it in 1 hour, right? But this is not the case always. So if we start that my car has started from slowly from rest and then picks up the speed. So when we say that the car has a speed of 50 km per hour, we are saying that what is the total distance covered. So I'm not saying it is, let's say I'm going from my home to my office. Okay. Now from my home to my office, the road could be like this and my speed could be varying over the time. It could be 0 when I started because I didn't have any speed at that time. It can be even, let's say 40, 50, 60, 80. It could be changing to again 40, 50 and 0. So whenever I am writing all this, these are my speeds over the time. It is not fixed. But when I am saying it is 50 km per hour overall, I mean what is the total distance I have covered and what was the total time. So let's say the total distance for 50 km from my home to my office and I covered that 50 km in the total time of 1 hour. Then my speed will become what? Total 50 kilometers upon 1 hour is equal to 50 kilometers per hour, right? 50 kilometers per hour is my speed. Now this is what we see. We do not bother whether the car is moving with a constant speed or not moving with it in an hour. The total speed is covered like this. So the total motion is happening at this speed. So the speed is calculated as the average speed. So what I call this as, I call it by the name average speed. So overall, doesn't matter my speed, overall changes by 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 80 even. What is the total time taken to what is the total, what is the total distance covered in what is the total time? That is my average speed. So we use the term speed for average speed usually where speed is distance upon time, whereas average speed is the total distance covered by the total time. So we come to this formula where this is given actually as the average speed, but we generally use this notion for speed as well. So particularly this is average speed, but we can call it speed by itself. Now, in an everyday life, we know that we seldom find objects which move with constant speed. They always keep on changing. Over long distances, this is more probable. So, when we talk about speed over long distances for a long duration of time, it is seen that the speed is not uniform or not constant, not fixed. So, if the speed of an object is not fixed, and the object is moving along a straight line and keep changing its speed, its motion is called as non-uniform motion. On the other hand, if I say it doesn't matter how long I have to go, I drive my car at a fixed speed or a constant speed in a straight line, that kind of motion is called uniform. So you can understand what is uniform. If I have to define uniform, it means equal distance is covered in equal time. Is covered in equal time. So when equal distance is covered in equal time, my speed is not changing. But when I write non-uniform, non-uniform means unequal distance in equal interval of time or even unequal interval of time. So distance is not fixed, not even the time. So unequal distance in unequal interval of time. Now even though one of these gets fixed or equal, still my motion remains non-uniform. Now in that case, we get what we talk about average speed. When the motion is non-uniform, then my average speed will be giving me my speed for the whole motion. Even in the uniform, the average speed gives me the actual value only, because the motion is covered at the same speed throughout. Now we can determine the speed of a given object once we can measure the time taken by it to cover the distance, right? This we already got to know. This is the very definition. Speed is how much time it is taken to cover how much of distance. Now in class 6, you have learned to measure the distances. How? Using various tools. There is a meter gauge. Actually, it is the length. So length can be measured by various tools. But if you remember how we measure it, if you know how to calculate the distance, the next step is to calculate the time, because speed is given as distance upon time. So if we know how to calculate the distance, we need to know how to measure the time as well. Only then we will be able to calculate the speed.